Yeah. Before we start, can I ask you guys, how did you find the midterm exam? Because last week we discussed the answers, and admittedly, a lot of you were not in class because of the recent WAD, and most of them wanted to rest. Anyway, how did you find the midterm examination? Anyone? Someone wants to say something in the chat. That's Ivy. No, let me know why, but yeah. So how was the midterm exam for everyone? And for those of you who were here last week, yeah, we discussed the answers last week. Some of the answers, actually. Okay. Sige, since nobody want to comment on the midterms, can I just ask, last week we discussed about, sorry, those of you who were here last week, can you quickly raise your hands for a while so I know who were here last week? Ivy was here. Who else? Jessica, Alfred, Takumi, Dairon, Cedric, Stephanie. Just you guys? Just you? Just the five of you? Yeah, just the five of you. So everyone else were not here last week. Okay, very, very briefly. Very briefly, let me share for a while before we start. So I will not repeat this. I trust that you will watch this on your own time, on your own accord, and I trust that you will watch the recording that we have last week. So modern architecture, we discussed modern architecture last week. We agreed that it's brought about by the Industrial Revolution. We have technically new building materials, which are glass, steel, never mind the typo, I was thinking of something else, and reinforced concrete. Styles have no precedent. What does this mean? For those of you who were here last week, what do I mean when I say the styles now have no precedent or have no reference from any other architectural movement that we have discussed so far? Can anyone share what they have learned last week? Those who are here and those who have watched the recording already. Anyone want to start? Because if you're not going to raise your hands, I will be calling you again randomly. Let's say, Ivy, you were here last week. You raised your hands. You were here last week. So what do we mean when we say the styles of the modern era architecture have no precedent? Can you enlighten the class for a minute? Ivy. So where are you, Ivy?
Ma'am, ano po ulit?
Diba, you were here last week. So what do we mean when we say that the modern era architecture or yung modernist movement per se, they have no precedent on the past, blah, blah, past style. So we have discussed before I call on Mary Claire. Ivy. Anyway, I think it's about time to give you the floor, Claire. Claire, what do we mean by this one?
Ma'am, base po dun sa sa may recorded po, yung pagkakaintindi ko po dun sa styles have no precedent po. Parang yung mga designs po ng buildings during modern architecture po. Hindi na po siya, parang hindi na po na-apply yung mga previous architectural styles po. Parang hindi na po yun nakita sa mga bagong gawa po.
Oo, correct. Bakit kaya? Do we remember why? So this is a very important thing that you have to know, guys. So we're just repeating a little bit of what we have discussed last week for the reference of all. Okay? So tama naman si Claire. Wala kasi siya masyadong influence from the past. Remember, ang dami natin, let's say, Renaissance. Si Renaissance, nandun siya sa point na, alam mo yun, they wanted to bring back the glory days, blah, blah. Also, something about the Industrial Revolution. Revivalist architecture, every one of you were here naman. So again, they wanted to revive the Greco-Roman styles, especially in the Neoclassicism, in the Neoclassical era. So si modern architecture kasi, someone recited last week that this is something na walang ornamentation. Technically correct in the later part of the modern era. Pero yung early part, like Art Deco, Art Nouveau, meron pa ring influence like let's say organic architecture. Pero when we say modern kasi, baka ang idea nating lahat is Seagram Building, Miss Van der Rohe, 'di ba? So andun tayo sa all steel, all glass, which is true. In the later part of modernism, ito na yung nangyayari, all glass, all steel, traditional reinforced concrete, because we have better building methods now. Now, during this time, hindi siya sa revivalist era, hindi siya sa technically post-colonial American. So the Americans, they claim that they invented this, but technically they did. So the Americans invented this term, we call that a skyscraper. So this means very, very high buildings ranging from, I think, 10 floors and higher. Now, I said last week, and I also said to my building utilities class earlier today, because our topic were elevators. So, at this point in time, andun na tayo sa ang dami na nating pwedeng gamitin. Meron ng steel, meron ng glass, meron na tayong mga pumps. As in water pump. Kasi di ba, before, even up until your revivalist era, lahat ng structure niyan medyo horizontally done, mabababa. Andun yung element of horizontality. So yung hindi nila maitaas. Bakit? Kasi hindi nila mapaangat yung tubig. Hindi nila mapaakyat yung tubig. That's the number one reason kung bakit mabababa lang yung natatayong building. Not just because hindi kayang i-compute structurally, kaya pero mahal kasi wala pa naman ganun ka titibay or hindi pa ganun ka polished, ka improved yung mga building materials that we have. Another is wala nga silang pump, hindi nga nila mapaakyat yung tubig. So paano nila susuplayan ng tubig yung building if tataas siya dun sa kaya lang abuting pressure ng ng tapping point mo, ng source mo, ng water main mo. So another reason is, meron ng elevators na imbento na natin. At this point in time, nandiyan si Otis, nandiyan na sila Ford, gumagawa na ng sasakyan si Ford, sila Otis gumagawa na ng elevator. So, kaya na nating i-transport yung tao from a lower floor to a higher floor nang hindi sila masyadong strenuous compared to or strained compared to pag naghagdan sila papanik. So that's one of the things that you have to remember on this modern day era, modern architecture era. At kaya lang natin siya tinawag na modern kasi nga wala na siyang masyado, hindi naman sobrang wala, pero at the later part, wala na talaga at all. Andiyan na yung international style mo na void ka na. You're devoid of the regionalistic character of your architecture. Wala na yung pag nakita mong ganito, alam mo nasa Egypt ka. Pag nakita mo yung ganitong klase, alam mo nasa Japan ka. Pag nakita mo yung ganito, let's say nakita ko yung ganitong klaseng building construction na ang kapal-kapal ng pader. Kasi pala nasa sobrang mainit akong country or sobrang malamig para yung thermal temperature control nila maayos. Hindi mo na siya makikita sa international style kasi hindi naman technically anything goes. Si anything goes kasi will be in the postmodern era. So, at this point in time, ang dami na nating nagawa, ang dami na nating mga modernisms, like let's say si expressionism. When you say expressionism, I'll get my pointer so you can focus on my slide. Si expressionism, they view architecture as a type of work of art rather than a building. So wait, umusog tayo. This is in Germany. Marami siya iba-ibang names. Diba? Jugendstil, napag-aralan natin to, style modern. You have your Art Deco, which is more streamlined. Medyo softer yung edges, beveled edges, streamlined, mas geometric yung form niya. You have the Art Nouveau, which is closely related to organic architecture kasi si Art Nouveau takes into account ng design yung mga organic forms. So mas playful siya, mas walang straight line masyado. Basically ganun. Then you have your organic architecture. We also discussed some famous architects in this era, sila Frank Lloyd Wright, Mies van der Rohe. We discussed about Anthony Gaudi. We told everyone na nasagasaan siya ng sasakyan dahil nakatingala siya sa building na ginawa niya and yung mga styles niya na not so common. We talked about Walter Gropius, the founder of the Bauhaus, and the international style, again, Mies van der Rohe, and the Farnsworth House, and the chismis behind that. Okay? So, aside from that, what you need to remember about the modern architecture is, well, this is, yeah. We also talked about this one, the 5 points of architecture, and the literal translation of these 5 points of architecture. This is by one architect named Charles Edward Jenner, or who we commonly and fondly call Le Corbusier. That's his alias. He believed that the house is a machine for living. He did this one. This is in France, the Villa Savoy, probably one of his most important structures. And then he coined the 5 points and he wrote about the 5 points of architecture. And Villa Savoy, look at it, it's the visual and literal representation of the 5 points that he enumerated. The pilotes, this one, the stilts, open plan. Yeah, do you see that in the interior, there's no unnecessary wall to divide the area? It looks bigger. The free facade or the curtain wall, the ribbon windows, these are the ribbon windows, and the roof garden. He believes that whatever it is greenery that you took from the ground, you return at the roof. So I think that's about it that you have to know about the modern architecture. But you can always watch the recording that we have, but just for the reference of all anyway. Do you have any questions so far on our recap? Questions, comments? Oh, I forgot. We need to check the attendance now because not everyone is attending my discussion. So I'm checking the attendance now. And I find it really hard na hindi kayo nag-attend ng klase, no? When I say your name, can you say if you're present because I'm on another screen? So, Janela, Agnes, sorry, Janela had a family matter. She messaged. Vivian, Ampane, Vivian Lawrence.
Present.
Present po. Juniela Aquino. Present po. Jomar John Baltasar. Yeah, Jomar John Baltasar. Jomar is not here. Jomar is not here, no? Okay, more. Jan Catherine Batong Bakal. Also not here. Wait lang. Baltasar and then Batong Bakal. Bautista, Erica. Also not here. Diana Baisa. Diana Baisa also not here. Patricia Erica Calano. Patricia is also not here. Oh my God. Guys, nasan kayo? Oh, I see someone coming in. It's Erica Bautista. So we remove that one. Okay. Karigan, Aubrey.
Present po, ma'am.
Princess Austin Cruz. Austin.
Present po, ma'am.
Jasmine Conanan. Jasmine is not here. Dexter De La Cruz.
Present po, ma'am.
Present po. Jana De Morin.
Present po, ma'am.
Stephanie Dizon.
Present po, ma'am.
Dyron Paul Doctor.
Present po.
Ivy Pangaon.
Present po, ma'am.
Tevrix Faustino.
Present po.
Tevrix, first year ka ba? Second year?
Second year po. Hindi ko lang po nabago yung pangalan.
Ha?
Second year.
Second
Alagay
year.
sa kanya, Wandy.
Hindi ko lang po nabago.
Tanong lang naman. Jeliza Galban. Jeliza is not here. I see a pattern already of those people who are not attending my class. Glenn Galicia. Glenn? Glenn is also not here. Jusel Gonzalez. Giselle is not here. Giselle, surprisingly, you're not here. You're always one of the earliest in class. Aris Guhiting. Aris is also not here. John Amor Gomanid, are you here?
Present po.
Syra Ilagan.
Present po, ma'am.
Janea Mangulabnan. Janea is not here. Cristel Manuzon.
Present po, ma'am.
Present po, ma'am. Alfred Morales.
Present.
Mary Claire Morales. Ah, yeah, she just answered my question a while ago. Fatima Navalta.
Present.
Present. Tony Perez. Tony Rose Perez.
Present po, ma'am.
John Irvin Kibuyen. Irvin is not here. Irvin has not been attending my class for, I think, 3 or 4 meetings already. What's happening to this guy? Takumi Rojas. Also not
Present po.
here. You're here. John Rodney.
Present po.
Rodney. Rodney, you were not here last week, no?
Present po, ma'am.
Last week?
Ma'am, nandito po ako last week pero na-late po ako.
Okay, kasi I was marking you as I marked you as absent. April. April Sinadhan.
Present po, ma'am.
Carlo Sulit. Carlo. Carlo's not here. Jessica Tambe. I think she's here. Jessica. Jessica. I saw Jessica a while ago, which is weird. Because I saw her enter a while ago. Anyway, she's not here. No. Nika Torres.
Present po.
John Landherson Valdez.
Present po, ma'am.
Krista Villarosa.
Present po.
Jessica Zuniga, finally. Jessica Zuniga, also not here.
Present.
Ah, you're here. Good for you. Anyway, so you know already your scores in the midterm examination. Almost everyone passed except 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yikes, 9. Yep, 9 is in danger of failing because of the midterm exam. And this 9, now that I'm looking at the attendance, these are the 9 people, or most of these people are those people who don't always attend my class. And I asked you dun sa Google Sheets if there's any way that you might have cheated during the last exam. I would appreciate your honesty, don't worry, but certain consequences have to come along with it, like certain deductions. But anyway, I would know. Because upon checking your work, actually mas obvious yun sa third year kasi third year na sila. Dapat hindi na sila nandadal. But upon checking your midterms, HOA, where is the HOA midterm? We just open for a while. Upon checking it, I saw terms that I did not actually teach, but it's written. Anyway, it's fine. Yung mga sinabi ko namang 9 na almost mababa, hanging naman sila like 74, 73. So our passing is 75. But most of you got actually good grades like 89, 88. But those of you who did not pass the midterm exam, you still have the finals to do better. You still have your homework 2, that's 10% of your grade. You still have homework 3. So we have our final essay. It's not yet done. I will be giving the topic again today so we can catch up. And then 15% for your presentation and 15% based on your class participation, which may or may not include your attendance in class. This also includes the answers to your assessment, the class assessment that I send out regularly. Those who don't like answering those kinds of assessment that I send, because I have a record of who answers and who does not. So it would reflect on this one because this is my personal prerogative on you guys. Anyway, so I think that's it. Do you have any questions so far about number 1, the modern architecture recap? Second is about your grades and the midterm exam. Do you have any questions? You should raise it now or send me a message privately if you're shy. Also, don't forget that today is our deadline for essay number 2. Anytime within today, so maybe 12 midnight will be our deadline. Some of you have not yet even submitted, so you still have time after this class. So, Stephanie, you have the floor now. Are you ready? Or do you want a 5-minute break? Where is Stephanie? Also, guys, could you keep your cameras open so I could actually see you? Because all we're doing now is listening to the reporters and I don't even know if we're sleeping in class, diba? Or baka wala na pala kayo dyan. The last time na nag-off ako ng cam ng klase namin sa MA, land use planning, nakatulog ako. So, buksan yung cameras mo. So, open your camera so we can see you and wake you up when we see that you're being sleepy. Ma'am, saan daw po makikita yung grades? Well, you could ask me. I wouldn't announce it now. I wouldn't send you the list because that's a confidential file. You would be seeing your classmates grade. I don't want you to do that. So, if you want to know your midterm scores, you can always ask me now or later, probably by messenger na lang so you could just chat. And if you feel like you're one of those who failed, don't worry, you can still make bawi. This is just 20% of your grade. And sabit naman kung sasabit, diba? No, so I'm not worried na anyone in this class will fail. Yeah, I'm not worried that any of you will fail. Probably wala. Kasi hahabol nyo pa to, mahahabol nyo pa to. I would tell you if it's time na, or I would tell you naman, I would warn you if your grade is hanging na sobrang pwede ka nang malaglag.
Ma'am, ano po, pwede na po mag-share screen.
Ready na you? If you're ready, then you have the floor and good luck.
Ready naman na po.
Rinig po ba ako?
Yes, sir. Very audible.
Good afternoon, Ma'am Isabel Castro and future architects. We are here to discuss to you the architectural style of postmodernism. So, ano nga ba ang postmodernism at ano ba pinagkaiba niya sa modern style? So, as discussed in the last week lesson, mapapansin natin na sa later times ng modern architecture, unti-unti na talagang nawawala ang paggamit ng historical features or elements. And nagiging halos magkakamukha ng lumalabas na buildings, which causes it to lose identity. Dahil dito, nag-emerge si postmodern style to cut ties with the boring, binding rules of modernism by incorporating both modern and classical style to its design. And later on, after we show you some examples, makikita natin ang creativity and playfulness ng architects na may freedom to design anything they imagine. Next slide po. Postmodern architecture, next slide. Postmodern architecture, also referred to as POMO, is a style of architectural construction that value experimentation and uniqueness. Important talaga sa movement na ito ang experimentation and uniqueness. Kaya masasabi ko talaga na this movement puts identity to the modern style buildings, while sometimes sprinkling elements from the classical era of designs. So para mas lalo pa nating makilala si postmodernism, let's talk about the key characteristics of this style. Next slide po. First is the use of bright colors. In this era, bright pastels and neon is relevant. They apply these colors to interior and exteriors of buildings. And sometimes we can clearly see it in the form of ceramic tiles or colored glass. The next is playfulness. This movement is very known for creating eye-catching buildings because of its whimsical or odd forms. The next is classical motifs. Using the language of classical architecture but with a modern twist. And lastly, variety of materials and shapes. Like what I said earlier, this movement really likes experimentation as they combine some materials to create shapes that sometimes convey movement. So moving on, we will now talk about some well-known architects and their works in this style. So next slide. So let's start with the one that starts it all, Robert Charles Venturi Jr. He was an American architect, founding principal of firm Venturi, Scott Brown and Associates, and one of the major architectural figures of 20th century, as he is also known as the father of postmodern architecture. He incorporates the past in form of history and traditional, and present as the popular culture, modern building materials and techniques. This duality becomes the key of the architecture of Venturi. He favors it over the simple spaces of modernism because he sees a need for a building that are messy, ugly, ordinary, chaotic, boring, double-coded, witty, ironic, and iconic. Next slide po. He also changed the less is more motto of modernism into the less is more slogan of postmodernism in the 1960s. He's made a large impact on what's essential in architecture and what's not. Now let's see some of his works. Next slide. So he designed this house for his mom and is significant due to being the first project for this movement. Also, this house won a prestigious 2025-year award awarded by the American Institute of Architects. Next slide. So the front colonnade of this structure exposes a large window behind, while flattened versions run along the side walls and appear to hold up letters spelling out the museum's name. So next presenter, thank you.
So for the next postmodern architect, we have Alvar Aalto. Hugo Alvar Henrik Aalto was a Finnish architect and designer. His works also include furniture, textile, glassware, sculpture, and paintings. He designed approximately 500 buildings over his career. His guiding design principle is Gesamtkunstwerk, frequently translated as ideal work of art. He created the Paimio chair for the sanatorium patients, which is named after the Paimio tuberculosis sanatoriums in southwest Finland. It was created to help tuberculosis patients breathe more easily while sitting. Another fact about him is he saw painting and sculpture as branches of tree as whose trunk is architecture, which kind of explains his broad area of expertise. Some of his famous works are Heilige Geistkirche, meaning Church of the Holy Spirit. It is an evangelistic Lutheran church located in Wolfsburg, Germany. As we can see at the exterior facade, it contains white-colored brick masonry, and the large window fills the northwest side of it, and the few smaller, irregularly indented windows are on the other facades. Sa roof naman po ito po ay covered in copper plates that incline towards the side altar where they curve down towards the ground. And a 32-meter tall white freestanding bell tower with superimposed free-hanging bells rests on the northwest side of the church opposite of the curve. The next is the Wolfsburg Cultural Center. The unique shape of the Wolfsburg Cultural Center is one of its distinct features. The design of the main facade of the building is very geometric, and ito po ay made from Carrara marble, and the interiors naman po ay mainly granite and wood. So makikita po natin yung building po nito. It is formed by hexagonal volumes na parang nagpo-push po together to create the main building. In designing the cultural center, Alto was presented with the possibility of realizing a plan as a total work of art or the ideal work of art for a client, allowing freedom from constraints of budget and schedule. Many details about of the building, such as door handles and fixed lighting fixtures, as well as furniture, were also designed by Alto as his works go beyond architecture. Next slide. Now we head to Eero Saarinen. Eero Saarinen is a prodigious Finnish American architect and industrial designer noted for his wide-ranging array of designs for buildings and monuments. He believed that all parts of an architecture composition must be parts of the same form world. Saarinen was a leader of the second-generation modernists and was a prolific architect who designed national memorials, corporate campuses, and airport terminals. His most widely recognized design is the iconic Gateway Arc in St. Louis, Missouri, the tallest man-made national monument in the United States. He is known for his neo-futuristic style. For his famous works, the first is the Gateway Arc in St. Louis, Missouri, USA. The Gateway Arc is a 630-foot tall or 192 meters monument in St. Louis, Missouri. It is covered in stainless steel and nagpo-form po siya ng weighted catenary arc, and it is the world's tallest arc and Missouri's tallest accessible building. Some sources consider it the tallest human-made monument in the Western Hemisphere. The next is the famous Transworld Airlines Terminal Idlewild, a building in which the architecture itself would express the drama, the special character and excitement of travel, a place of movement and transition. The shapes were deliberately chosen to emphasize a progressive increase to the quality of the line. We wanted a lift, said Eero Saarinen. Ang Transworld Airlines International ay carved po, like a symbol of flight is involved, like parang lilipad po. It is abstract and an allegory on the fly made of reinforced concrete. It has often been described as the figure of an eagle to take land. Next presenter.
The next architect is Louis Isidore Kant. He was an Estonian-born American architect that based in Philadelphia. Kant was resolute in his philosophy that architecture is the thoughtful making of spaces whose design can and should simultaneously reveal the story of their constructions and meet the aesthetic and functional needs of the people who inhabit them. Louis Kahn was a highly important modern architect in post-World War II United States, and he known for his monumental and brutalist style while highlighting the materials involved in buildings construction. And two of Kahn's buildings exemplify his techniques and illustrates why he is so vital to modern architectural history, and this is the Salk Institute and the Yale University Art Gallery. Next slide. The Salk Institute that located in La Jolla, California, and it builds from 1959 through 1965. Possesses a design which is brutalist in style but intelligence in its use of materials and space. Constructed from concrete, wood, and travertine, the complex reflects both of its purpose as a site for collective scientific discoveries and designers' penchant for monumental forms. And buildings, two main buildings which comprise the institutes are symmetrical and austere on the exteriors and devoid any ornamentations aside from the building's materials. Between these buildings lies a court split in the center of the by a thin stream leading towards the ocean. And in Kahn's design for the Yale University Art Gallery, he constructs a building which features many aspects for conventional modern design, yet also possesses several unique features which breaks the modern tradition. Like, uh, like several other modern designs, the art gallery features are rectangular main volume with sheets windows on several sides. And the materials used are similar as well, like glass, bricks, and steel features. Next slide. Next architect is architect Philip Courtlew Johnson. He was an American architect and also a critic, and best known for his work of modern and postmodern architecture. He also known for his promotion of the international style and later for his role in defining postmodernist architecture. He was an influential 20th century American architect, and he was just celebrated for championing the two architectural movements that profoundly affected urban landscape during the second half of 20th century, the international style and the reintroduction of use of wide variety of historic style in contemporary architectural design. And let's go to his famous works. Next slide. The glass house with its perfect proportions and its simplicity is considered one of the first most brilliant work of modern architecture. It was designed by architect Philip Johnson as its own residence. It has been called his signature work. And 550 Madison Avenue, or formerly known as the Sony Tower, Sony Plaza, and AT&T building, is a postmodern skyscraper at Madison Avenue. It is designed by Philip Johnson and John Burgee with associate architect Simon's Architect. The building was completed in 1984 at the headquarters of AT&T and later became the American headquarters of Sony. The building consists of 647 foot tall and 37-story office tower with a facade made with a pink granite, and it originally had a 4-story granite annex to the west, which was demolished and replaced with a shorter annex in 2020. Next, please. The next architect is Michael Graves. He was an American architect, designer, and educator, as well as principal of Michael Graves and Associates and Michael Graves Design Group. And the New York Times described Graves as one of the most prominent and prolific American architects of the 20th century, who designed more than 350 buildings around the world. and one of the most celebrated architects and designers of the 20th century, and famous for his bold and symbolic references to the classical architecture and his use of geometry. And he also an advocate to new classical architecture and new urbanism as well as postmodernism. Next.
For his famous works, we have the Portland Building, Oregon. It is one of Oregon's best known and most controversial works of architecture. Constructed in 1982, the building's design made Michael Graves as a prominent architect, and that helped define the American postmodern style. Dinisign po ito ni Graves as a symmetrical 15-story block clad in a scored of white stucco and set on a step 2-story tiled pedestal. This style was expressed through paint and applied ornament that implied classical architectural details tulad ng terracotta tile, plasters, and keystone, mirrored glass, and flattened and stylized garlands, as we can see in the slide. The building is organized in a classical three-part division. Meron po siyang bottom, middle, and top. Its colors represent parts of the environment with blue-green tile at the base, symbolizing the earth, and light blue at the top, representing the sky. Next is the Walt Disney World Swan and Dolphin Resort. It was one of the first projects to embody Disney's interest in entertainment architecture. Michael Graves' company designed the architecture, interiors, furnishings, signage, and graphics with creating a decorative themed environment without using Disney characters. Disney also requested that portions of the buildings projecting above the treetops be bold and iconic, reflected in the shape of the buildings, and the signature dolphin and swan sculptures because of the size of the hotels. Next slide. The next famous work is the World Trade Exchange Center, Manila. It is a 35-story mixed-use tower located in Metro Manila's historic district near Manila Bay. The several uses are stacked above each other and articulated in the massing and facades. Meron po siyang 2 floors of retail at the base at 7 floors of parking sa taas. Commercial office space rises above this level in 2 distinct vertical sections. Ang upper portion po ay originally designed to be residential with a health club and swimming pool on the roof. Ang massing and facade po ng design na to ay nag-downplay ng large size of the building in deference to its mid-sized neighbors by articulating 2 stories at once. Next presenter.
Now let's move to postmodern styles. Next slide.
Ivy, wait lang, Ivy.
Okay po.
Can you go back dun sa slide ni Graves? Yung World Trade Exchange niya. I'd like to add more context on this kasi this is near where I live. So this is in Manila. So World Trade Exchange Center is in Binondo in Manila. This is along Juan Luna Street. Ang mga katabi niya na yung old buildings. This is something na Michael Graves did. His designs, if you've noticed, it's very playful. He also designed Team Disneyland Burbank, which is not here. Yung Seven Dwarfs, ginawa niyang atlases na nagbubuhat ng pediment. Pediment-ish, but it's not actually your usual pediment. Anyway, so I would just like to add in context, no? Sa Binondo, mabababa yung building. This used to be the CBD of Manila. This used to be the Central Business District of Manila. If you have a Binondo address before, if you're a business, then it means you're legit. So, somewhere along the line, bago nagkaroon ng Makati CBD, and way before nagkaroon ng BGC. BGC is relatively new. This is around 2007, 2009, 2000-ish na siya. Whereas Makati was in the 1970s, 80s. So si Manila, ito yung central business district ng mga businesses noon sa Binondo. So itong owner ng World Trade Exchange, he wanted it na siya yung center of attraction sa Binondo. Tsaka super iba siya. If you will look at the buildings here in Binondo, in Escolta, which is actually one of those that are protected, technically not yet protected, but these are the ones that the heritage groups or conservatists or conservationists are fighting for. Kasi this is where you will find old Art Deco buildings, may a few Art Nouveau, may mga neoclassical buildings. So iba-ibang style. Kasi remember, Escolta, just to add a bit of a tidbit dito kasi this is in Manila. Escolta used to be the red light district during the American time. It used to be a marshland during the Spanish time. So after niya maging red light district, doon nag-sprout yung mga first offices in Manila. Cybels, the grocery department store na may escalator in the Philippines. Yung nearby, may Crystal Arcade tayo, very nearby. Tapos papunta na to ng Quiapo. So this one, Binondo, Santa Cruz, and Quiapo, magkakalapit lang to na district sa Manila. Tapos sila yung mga naging CBD at that time. So you would know, and I just want to put into context na this used to be a very, very important building. And right now, it's not really decaying, pero hindi na siya kasing ganda when it was first built. Na may neglect part, yes, pero it's still usable up until this time. Pero in our standards as architects, siguro, ano na siya, for rehabilitation or for renovation na dapat siya. I'm not sure of the inside if it's being renovated, pero some of my friends have worked here in this place. And yeah, very luma na yung loob niya. So it's not keeping up with the times kasi we're developing a lot of new technologies now. I think that's it. You have your additional tidbit. So Ivy, you have the floor again. You can continue. Sorry for cutting you. Baka kasi makalimutan ko.
Okay lang po, ma'am. So, yun nga po. Ang unang postmodern style is brutalism. It is an architecture style that emerged during the 1950s in the United Kingdom among the reconstruction projects of the post-war era. It is characterized by minimalist constructions that showcase the bare building materials and structural elements over the decorative design. So the first feature is unusual shapes. Parts of the building can be differentiated for dramatic effect. The second one is wrapped surfaces. Use of varied or constructing textures and materials. Second one is expression of structure. It is creating a memorable and powerful image. And the last is massive forms, which creating a sense of mass, weight, and scale. Next po. One of the example of brutalism architecture is the habitation. Next po.
And now let's talk about high-tech architecture. High-tech architecture is also known as the late modernism or structural experienism, that incorporate elements from new high-tech industries and advanced construction techniques into building design. As we notice in the example beside, in the century in the Pompidou, the using of the incorporation of the glass steel are very evident po. At yun po yung makita natin dito sa may example. High-tech architecture has a material palette that extensively uses aluminum, glass, steel, and to an extent concrete. In the second one, next po. And the second one is green architecture. Philosophy of architecture that advocates a sustainable energy sources and conservation of energy and the reuse of safety building materials of the setting of the building with consideration of its impacts on the environment. Ito po yung kanyang example. At Sydney, Australia. Ito po yung One Central Park. As we notice again, the building has full of plants and the landscape of trees. All we know, di ba, na plant produce oxygen that help us in the environment also. And next po.
Ang next po is deconstructivism. Deconstructivism is a movement belonging to contemporary
Next po.
architecture. Huh?
Please.
I think I have to mute you first, Dexter, but I don't know why I cannot. So it's Ivy's turn. Can you go back, Steph, a little bit before Ivy takes over again? You go back a little bit during the brutalist slide. Yan. So unusual shape, rough surface, massive forms, expression of structure. These are all true. Now, I messaged you in the chatter box that you read on the Bagong Lipunan style of buildings during the Elder Marcos's time. Kasi the structures that were built back then were built in this brutalist style, as in walang finish, rough surface yung finish. Mukha siyang gitapos. Ay, technically, hindi siya mukhang gitapos kasi yun yung style niya, rough surfaces niya. So, that's one. Including the CCP, the Cultural Center of the Philippines, the Cultural Center of the Philippines Complex. Kasi hindi lang siya isang building, marami siyang building also out hanggang sa dulo. Right before you reach Coconut Palace and just across PICC. Now, we'll be discussing a little bit in this era after because we'll have a special discussion on this one. Because I want to share a lot of things about it. So, si brutalism kasi, it's a movement that started dahil these people who were behind the brutalist movement, they wanted it to be somewhere near yung mga traditional or mga old houses. Yung mukha siyang luma agad. So, ang thought, ang lokohan namin magkaaklase dito is para pag tumagal siyang naluma, mukha pa rin siyang bago. So, I don't know if it applies to your age now. Pero yung brutalism, it's just an ostentatious way of saying or of people to build buildings that will be noticed by other people. Diba? So move a little bit more to your high-tech building, Steph, high-tech. This building in the high-tech, well, hindi naman siya high-tech na high-tech. This building, the George Pompidou Center in France, this is designed by Richard Rogers, Renzo Piano, and a little bit by Norman Foster. If you know Norman Foster also designed the Jerkin in London, which is, it's called the egg or the Jerkin. Pero hindi nga Jerkin yung egg anyway. It's designed by those three guys. This uses tensile construction of steel and then glass facade. And then yung escalator na yan sa labas or walkway, it's kind of a walkway, hindi pa na siya escalator, hagdan pa na siya. Sorry, hagdan siya, naka-tube. Meron din tayong ganyan sa Philippines, yung ganyan na escalator na naka-tube. I'm not sure kung saang mall siya, but it's an old mall. Wait, old mall. with yan. It's an old mall. Maraming mall sa Philippines na yung during the time of this one na merong ganyan na parang tube dun sa escalator. If I'm not mistaken, it's one of the old buildings in Manila. No, Philippines. I forgot which building, but it's an old building in Manila. Anyway, yung thought kasi nila na high-tech during this time was something like this. Ito na yung futuristic sa kanila. Na parang lahat ng dadaanan mo ay naka-portal. Tapos, what's high-tech in this building is the construction of the tensile cables and the steel skeleton. So that's one. This is actually, I think, a shopping center. If I'm not mistaken, the George Pompidou Center is a shopping center. Let's quickly check. Yeah, George Pompidou Center, also locally known as Bobor. Bobor, as in Bobor, yung kanyang name, pero it's spelled differently. Yeah, it houses the Bibliothèque Public Information Library in Europe. All right, so move on a little bit further. Yung green architecture, is it green yung next dito? Seth? Yeah, you know all about green architecture. I think your theory prof will be the one best suited to discuss this. But right now, it's more of a greenwashing than green architecture, if you'd ask me. So, ano next dito? Si Ivy na, no?
Opo, ma'am, the constructivism po.
Sige. Ivy, you have the floor, pero I would like to remind everyone to turn on their cameras kasi I want to see everyone. Please turn on your cameras because I really want to see you guys this week. Go ahead, Ivy. Good luck.
Next slide po. So deconstructivism, it is a movement belonging to contemporary architecture and was developed to oppose the ordered rationally of modernism. Its non-linear style and defiance in the face of symmetrical shapes propelled the creation of buildings with a unique visual appearance. It is often described as one of the most visually striking and perplexing types of art ever developed. Deconstructivism is characterized by use of fragmentation, manipulation of ideas of a structure, surface, or skin, the definition of shapes and forms, and radical manifestation of complexity in a building. Then, okay na po pala. So, ano po pala, may example po pala, ito po pala yung ano. One of the prime examples of deconstructivism is, ba't nawala agad?
Guggenheim.
Guggenheim Museum in Bilbao. It represents a fusion of complex, swirling forms and captivating materiality.
Are you done?
Yes po, ma'am.
Yes po, parang kulang tayo ah. The Guggenheim Museum in Bilbao is designed by Frank Gehry, while the other Guggenheim is by another Frank, which is FLW. So, I think you forgot in deconstructivism a little bit about Zaha Hadid. I think you just referred to the slides that I gave you. Pero, you should have added that Zaha Hadid is actually one of those na pioneers of deconstructivism. So, what else? What else did we forget? We forgot something else. We forgot to discuss about, Ivy, mute kita. Lagi kang nag-unmute. I think we forgot to discuss about a lot of things. So let me just refresh my memory on this one. Wait. Little bit. Because this is uploaded already. I think we forgot something about postmodern architecture. Postmodern architecture is actually an era na kahit ano na lang gusto nilang gawin, ginawa nila. Kasi nag-focus na to sa yung mismo personality na ng architect. It's focused on creating asymmetry. So hindi lahat ng makikita mo, pag nakita mong postmodern, dahil nga anything goes na, andun ka na sa may deconstructivist time, hindi nyo rin na-explain masyado yung mga movements. So si postmodern architecture, ang ginagawa niyan is gumagawa yan ng dynamic forms, as in dynamic forms, nagpo-provide siya ng asymmetry to achieve that. Tapos a lot of this, like the dancing house, di ba? The dancing house, if you look at it, quickly Google the dancing house. It's kind of a house na parang tinwist yung form niya. So, hindi na normal yung forms, hindi na regular yung forms when we talk about postmodern architecture. Wala na silang sinusundang guideline. Actually, wala nang guideline at all. So, it also invokes humor in a sense kasi pag nakita mo nga naman sa dancing house, matatawa ka. Tapos, another is the Disneyland Theater, also by Jiri, na inspired by the fish scale design. It looks like the Guggenheim Museum in Bilbao from the exterior facade. So there. Yeah, we forgot also to discuss about Norman Foster's building, yung minention ko kanina like the Jerkin. Tapos, go back step a little bit dun sa bahay ni Venturi. Kasi ito yung ang tagal kong binibigyan ng focus pag nasa postmodern. I go back dun sa Vanna Venturi house. Yan, si Saarinen. May tatay na. Ay, tatay ba si Saarinen or anak? Si Iro Saarinen.
This one po ba?
Diyan. Meron niyang si Iro Saarinen. Then there's someone else also nicknamed as Saarinen. I think it was it's a father and son duo. So si Iro yung father and then si Ilial Saarinen. So ito si Vanna Venturi. I just want to share a little bit about this. Let me just quickly get to the plan. Where is the Vanna Venturi house? Wait lang, I'm just getting the plan for the Vanna Venturi. And here. This is from the other class. I'll stop your screen share, Steph muna. And I'll share mine. So you can see. This is from the other block. So, ito yung plan ng Vanna Venturi. So when you enter, it's actually very chaotic. Meron kang stairs going to nowhere. This one, yung nakaangat na portion, this is going to nowhere. Hagdan lang yan eh. Tapos yung section ng bahay. So this is more of the expression of the architect of himself rather than a practical use of space. Probably kasi at this point in time, since anything goes nga naman, tas ang dami ng lots na available, ang dami nating bagong building methods, so gawa na lang sila ng gawa ng kung ano-ano. Pero this is not a practical use of space. Look at the unevenness. Pero this one, a lot of things This one, a lot of things, mind you. Yeah, so yan, you're looking at the plan of the Vanna Venturi. Now stop my screen share for a while and go back to the slide and discussion. Kasi we missed a lot of architects in this discussion. We missed James Sterling. We missed some of the Pritzker Prize winner. Who else? Let me just... Yeah, Robert Venturi. Terry Farrell. These are the additional ones. Very new, relatively new architects. Michael Graves, of course. We discuss his style and his building. This is Team Disney Burbank. I cannot. Team Disney Burbank. So this is Team Disney Burbank for you. I'll open my screen sharing again so you would see. Ganito yung architectural style this Michael Graves. Very playful, very youthful. Ito yung sinasabi ko, yung Seven Dwarfs, bit-bit nila yung bit-bit nila yung pediment-ish structure kasi dopey nandito. So may central statue si Walt Disney and si Mickey Mouse. There. So, hindi lang yan yung mga building ni Graves, pero all of the buildings ni Michael Graves is somehow very childish. Parang you would imagine na bata yung nag-drawing kasi nga, yung design niya is leaning towards the playful ones. Okay, so a little bit more. Let's just move a little bit more. Yung glass house, Steph, para lagay nga dun sa glass house and then I'll share something else. I'll share the Farnsworth house from our previous discussion. I think we can both share at the same time. Farnsworth house. Here is the Farnsworth house. Let's share. This is the Farnsworth house. So how similar is this dun sa glass house na diniscuss natin kanina? You know, if you read on that, that's actually inspired by Van der Rohe, the Farnsworth house. Merong chismis to si Farnsworth house between Van der Rohe and the wife. So alam nyo na. I don't need to actually expound on that. And then, yeah, we forgot Zaha din. And of course, siya kasi yung leading natin when it comes to deconstructivism. So anyway, yun nga. Do you have any questions so far on the discussion that we have today? Any question at all from anyone? Can you guys open your cameras so we can see each other and talk about modern architecture, postmodern architecture? What is your main takeaway on this architectural movements na from somehow ang dami masyadong term, ang dami masyadong parts, nandito na tayo sa wala na nga terms, wala pang parts tayong kinakabisado. Kasi wala na siya halos ornamentation, very sparse na. Tapos andito na tayo sa point in time na postmodern is actually anything goes, whatever the architect thinks about, ginagawa nila. Kasi wala nang rules, wala na silang kailangang i-follow na kailangan mukhang ganito, kailangan mukhang ganyan. Nandito na tayo sa kung ano yung tingin nilang tama, o hindi naman tama, tingin nilang appropriate, pero it's very subjective. So yung mga design, from this point in time, from the modern to the transition to the postmodern era, wala ka nang hinahanap na marker na pag nakita mo, dito to sa ganyan. Pero one of the common things about them is that they all evoke the sense of being dynamic. They all exude yung a little bit of humor, a little bit of the character of the architect, a little bit of what they see fit. Diba? It's a reflection of those who design rather than the function of the actual designs. Like the Vanaventuri. It's not really that much functional, pero it's there. It won a lot of things. It won the attention of many people as well. So I will not hold you any further. Do you have any questions for me today? Do you have any questions so far? Or any comments regarding the presentations? Questions on your grade, questions on your midterms. Now we have the time. Also, before next meeting, can you have a quick read of the Pritzker Prize awardees? Our 2022 Pritzker Prize awardee is Diebedo Francis Quere. And then 2021, usually they ask this a board exam, so you have to know these things. So 2021, we have different Lacaton and Jean-Philippe Basal. Yeah. Ang kinailangan kong pag-aralan noon when I took the exam was Baltrishina Doshi. Our famous architects that we know are also recipients of this award: Frei Otto, Wang Shu, Richard Rogers, the one that I mentioned to you a while ago, John Novell. We missed talking about John Novell. We'll talk about him next week. Zaha Hadid in 2004. Bjorn Utzon. You forgot the Sydney Opera House is also, because I saw Bjorn Utzon's name. The Sydney Opera House is actually one of the postmodern architectural designs. It's not inspired by seashell, as many of you will think. It's actually inspired by the sections of an orange or a citrus fruit, for that matter. It's designed by Bjorn Utzon. It's from a contest in which Bjorn did not actually win. So yeah, you have Herzog and de Meuron, Rem Koolhaas, Norman Foster, one in 1999. He's also known for the Jerkin, the one that we missed to discuss. Renzo Piano also won in 1998. I told you a while ago about Renzo Piano. Robert Venturi, 1991, he won the Pritzker Prize as well. Giri also won, Aldo Rossi. Giri is 1989. Oscar Niemeyer, the new capitals. You will meet Oscar Niemeyer in your planning one. He's one of those who built the new capitals for Brasilia. Okay, Kenzo Tange, Richard Meyer, I.M. Pei. You know I.M. Pei, the one who designed the HSBC building in Hong Kong. Louis Barragan, and our first Pritzker Prize awardee is Philip Johnson in 1979, followed by Barragan, and then James Sterling, also one of the architects we missed in discussing the postmodernist movement today. So any questions in your mind now? Or what have you absorbed in today's discussion? Don't walk away from class na wala kayong napulot na kahit ano. Ha? Dapat laging meron kayong bit-bit na baon. Mahal-mahal ng tuition, dapat meron tayong natututunan everyday. So, I think for you to be able to distinguish is it, pag nawala na ng regionalistic character or characteristic, or yung hindi na siya nagkikling onto the historical designs and structures, it's safe to say na nasa modern era ka na. Now, if it's early modern period or yung pa-sprout pa lang siya or somewhere along the way, which is the international style, makikita mo na unti-unting nawawala yung kanyang ornaments, like the Seagram building that I showed you a while ago. So now when you go to postmodern, you will feel agad na it's dynamic. It wants to tell you that it's dynamic. It plays with colors, it plays with shapes, it plays with a lot of things, and it trickles your imagination. So I'd like you guys to think of whatever it is that you have absorbed or learned today from our discussion. Kasi I'll be calling you one by one. Para lang sure tayong may baon tayo para sa finals. So let's try. Not the reporters anymore because it's their part. So let's try those who did not report today. Like John Landherson, good afternoon. Katabi kasi kita sorry. Katabi kita sa picture. Kauna ko nakikita. So, what is your main takeaway from today's discussion?
Kailangan English.
Di naman. Kahit magbisaya ka. Ano?
Ang natutunan ko po is brutalist architecture must have these characteristics like more on concrete, ganun po ba, or like massive constructions, and yun.
Makikita mo agad pag brutalist, wala yung finish. usually rough. So it's one of
Opo.
those that are easily recognized. Sige, ano pa? Kaya mo yan.
So, postmodern architecture
Hmm?
is more on more on like para pong ano, more on experimental po ba? Ganun.
Not really experimental. Andun na tayo kay postmodern when we say experimental. More of, nagbabawas na ng design si modern one. So yun. I mean, not really design, but the aesthetic, the ornaments. Yan yung kay modern, dun siya nagsimula. I highly suggest you guys, if you were not here last week, you watch the recordings now. So we can have a discussion kahit offline, kahit through Messenger. And if you have any question for me, we can discuss about it. Kasi we're nearing the last stretch of this semester. We're nearing the last stretch. You have almost filled up your grades now. So we're near the finals. And I hope na after this sem, bit-bit nyo pag nag-HOA 3 kayo, na super familiar sa inyo ni HOA 2, that you're now able to relate it. Na you're now able to examine from HOA 1, 2, 3, 4. If you have 4, then you can relate it kung paano natin siya ginagamit sa actual practice natin and how important it is. So I will give the topic for your second essay probably next week, but be ready about it. Sorry, third essay. Second pala is the one you sent to me. Probably next week, para fair din dun sa kabilang block. So be ready for that and then review well for your finals. And if you're one of those who cheated in the midterm exam and have not reached out to me yet, please reach out to me so we can work something out. So I think that's about it. I am not going to hold you anymore. Just review and study well, rewatch the recording, watch the handouts. Don't forget to send the editable version of your presentation, Steph, so everyone can have a reference on it. So that's it. We can now enjoy our weekend and have a good weekend, everyone. Thank you for coming to class today.